If you have 10 minutes today, you're going to be able to have a beautiful hand-lettered pumpkin. It's much easier than you think. My name is Arneill, and I am here to teach you how to get your lettering onto a pumpkin. And you might even be saying, well, that's great, Amanda, but I don't letter. No problem, I do, and I have created a full pack of freebie printables that you can use to get a beautiful hand-lettered design made by you directly onto a pumpkin. Now, I like to letter on my pumpkins because I find the whole carving thing, well, it's a mess, but I'm really bad at it. Whereas lettering is something you can do because if you can pick up a marker and you can do a bit of tracing, you are ready to go with your perfect pumpkin. There are a few things that you need to think about when you're picking your pumpkin. The first is that you want it to be as smooth as possible. So you don't want to have too many ridges or bumps, and the ones that you do have should be mostly flush. Make sure after you get your pumpkin that you take a cloth and wipe it off because, as you can see, they're pretty disgusting. Give it a quick wipe. And that will also take off any water that might be on the outer part of your pumpkin because you want it to be as dry as possible when you go to put your lettering onto it. The next thing you're going to do is take your tracer. So I've chosen to do the Trick or Treat tracer onto this pumpkin. And you might think, okay, how am I going to get it onto here? If you have special like contact tracing paper, you can use that. Otherwise, you can always just use a ballpoint pen, trace over the design, and that will give you a little bit of an indent on the front of your pumpkin. I'll simply trace as best as I can around the outer edge of each of the letters, and this will give me a guideline for coloring it in afterwards. You don't have to worry about being completely perfect with the letters. It's just a guideline, and when you're going and coloring in with your marker, that's when you can make any changes that you might want. Now I've got it all traced out onto my pumpkin. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's fine because as long as I can see that slight groove, that's all I need. Also, if you haven't pushed too hard with your, what is this one? Just a regular ballpoint pen, then if you need to make any adjustments, it won't be super noticeable. So that's why you don't want to puncture through the skin. I have this all done, and now I have to choose my marker for filling it in. There are a few options that I would suggest. The first would be any of the pens from the Molotov line. They come in colors. There's white or black or silver. You could also choose the Michaels Craft Smart line. Those work really nicely as well. Or this Infinity pen set. I actually just got this one, and it is a metallic permanent marker with a bullet tip, a thick bullet tip, but they're really nice and they will also work on some of those darker pumpkins that I've managed to find as well. If you're going to use a Sharpie, I highly suggest getting an industrial strength Sharpie. It gives a deeper, richer black and it'll give you better coverage on your pumpkin. So once you have chosen which pen you'd like to use, really whichever one you can find the easiest, then it's time to start coloring in your pumpkin. Where's my writing? Oh, there it is. I'm just going to use my black Molotov pen, and I like to first go around all of the outlines before I come in and fill in the inside. Now that my outline is all done for the words that I'm going to do in black, I'm going to go through and color it in. This is also the perfect time to touch up any spots that you might want to adjust a little bit And I also like to do it because I'm right-handed, I do it from top left down to the bottom. And another thing you can do is spin your pumpkin so that you make sure that you're not pulling your hand through any of your ink. Once that's all colored in, you want to make sure that it dries before you go and try to put anything else in. Like the spider web, which I didn't draw in since it's a bit complicated, but easy to do freehand. So I'm going to show you how to do a quick and easy spider web so that you don't have to worry about tracing all of this and trying to get all of those lines on there. I'm also going to do ore in a different color. So while you wait for this to dry, you can work on another pumpkin. Or if you happen to have the same pumpkin already dry, put to the side, perfect. I'm going to use a chrome marker. This is a silver colored marker. So I have a nice fine point on this pen. And now with your spider web, you want to give it some connection points. So I'll connect it here to there, and I'm just giving it a slight arc in the spider web. So let's make it go to that part of the T. It's a little bit different than on the drawing, but that is totally fine. Bring it over to that part, and then I'll have it hook in here. And now I like to draw a center point to the spider web. So let's put it, I don't want it to be perfectly centered, that's almost too perfect. I'll put it down here a little bit. I mark it off with a tiny dot because then I have my main connection point, and I can draw lines out to every one of these outer points. And now you can start filling in your spider web. I'll pick this top bit here, and you're going to just draw lines that mimic your outer line. So I'll draw a straight line here because my outer line here is straight. And you can see from this top one, I don't like to make them perfectly parallel. I guess, can curved lines be parallel? And then with this point, rather than returning to your very first point, the spider would continue to work its way inside. So you want to make it come in slightly closer to the center than that first point. So I'll continue to go around, curving these a little bit so that I'm mimicking this outer line. And I'm constantly working my way closer and closer into the center of the spider web. Now I have a perfect, simple and easy spider web there. You can choose to add a spider in it if you'd like to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to work on my middle letters here, and I'll make those the same color as the spider web just to give some cohesion to the pumpkin. Again, I'm drawing the outline first, and then I'll go through and color the inside. I love this pen because it's essentially like drawing mirror onto your pumpkin. That's how shiny and silvery it looks. It's better than when you buy a metallic marker and you're like, this is just brown or this is just gray, based on if it's supposed to be gold or silver. And it's not at all, but this one is really, really silver. There we go. So after you have your main elements, you can always choose to go through and add in details inside your letters, or if you want to put a shadow on the outside, but this is a really, really nice, solid pumpkin that you could toss out on your front porch, and it only took a few minutes. I'm going to do a few little details on the lettering here, and then we'll look at the Boo pumpkin because that uses white and black in a design together. Okay, now I really am done this one. I just added a little bit of detail to the left of each of the thicker parts of the letters. Those are the downstrokes. When you are drawing in your downstrokes, make sure that they're about the same width in those thick parts. You don't want some of them to be wider than others. Keep it consistent, and then that'll also give you the perfect amount of space for drawing in details on the inside that you might want to add. So I'm going to put this one to the side, and let's work on our Boo pumpkin. So this Boo design that I have, I've already gone on and traced it onto my pumpkin, and I've started to color in white here so that the O's look like eyeballs. Now when I colored it, because it's white, it doesn't have absolutely perfect coverage on the pumpkin. So I did one layer, and I'm going to come back and draw another layer. Now also when I colored, I used a larger barrel pen, because then you don't have to do quite as many lines. Really, it's just about being lazy. But the larger barrel is good for any time you have to do large areas of coverage like this and you don't want to take a whole lot of time. And for the eyeballs, I didn't do a totally perfect line on the inside. I'm going to do my black eyeball circles. Where are they? These circles afterwards, but I wanted to make sure that I had a white base so that regardless of where I put those black lines, I have that white popping through, because that's what's going to make it look so stunning and so poppy. That doesn't seem to make sense, but so that it'll really, really pop off the pumpkin. That's another reason why I want to make sure that I go back and do another layer of white so that it has quite a bit of difference and you can't see the orange coming through. Now when I colored this in, I actually went right over my lines, and you can choose to go over your lines or to just sort of color along beside them. Whatever is easier for you. You can still see the divots even through the white, but as you add more layers, that might be more and more difficult. So do keep that in mind. That's why I'm leaving a little bit of space so that I know where my black should go. Perfect. That white is popping even more now with its second coat. So that gives me time to go in and start to write in my letters. Again, I'm just going to use my black pen. I like the white and black combination together. And because I don't want to accidentally put my hand into the paint here or the marker here, which I am very much known to do, I'll flip the pumpkin upside down so that the space that I'm going to be resting my hand is not danger zone. Again, I'm going to use the grooves and I will trace up. I also like to keep my paper with me so that I can use that as a bit of a guideline. I can change the letters a bit, like for example, I extended this line up a little bit more, but having this guideline here is a really nice way to help make sure that your letters look the way that you intended them. So if you haven't downloaded yet your set of pumpkin tracers, make sure that you get those with the link, because that will save you so much time from having to come up with your own designs and will really make this a quick 10-minute project for you. It won't take up all of your time trying to design them. I've already done that for you. Why reinvent the wheel or reinvent the pumpkin? Now, any areas that you find aren't black enough or aren't popping enough or aren't white enough, you can always go over them again with another coat of paint. Just make sure that you let the first one dry completely, because otherwise you are going to be scratching up some of the paint and it will get a little bit more frustrating. And that's not what we want. Instead, we want to be able to create these pumpkins, make them quickly and easily and with less mess or fuss than the traditional pumpkin. Of course you can do those too, but this is a really fast, fun, and easy way to decorate some pumpkins that you can throw out on your stoop. I hope that you have a fantastic Halloween and that you can find lots of pumpkins to letter on.